So you just need to click the little button on your screen to say that you accept the recording. So you're all very welcome along. It's not quite 7:30 yet, and the two doctors will be on in a minute or two. My name is Noel O'Neill. I'm a director of the Ayurveda Centre here in Ireland, and this particular webinar we're doing this evening is on anxiety. And anxiety is something that's very, very prevalent in society nowadays. And unfortunately, quite prevalent among young people as well, whatever the reason happens to be for that. But it was actually, we do lots of webinars, and I'll send you a link where you can see some of our previous webinars on things like tinnitus and sinusitis and arthritis and all these things. But it was actually some friends of mine asked me, would we do a webinar on anxiety, because they were seeing lots and lots of people coming in with anxiety. So Ayurveda has quite a lot offer in the area of anxiety. Now I'm looking at the participants joining in, and I'm seeing a lot of people I know, but I'm also seeing a lot of people I don't know, new people. And we did advertise this particular talk on Facebook, so I'm presuming we have some new people along that that maybe aren't so familiar with Ayurveda. So if the doctors would forgive me just for a minute, maybe I'll do a very brief introduction to what Ayurveda is, seeing as you're on a talk about Ayurveda and anxiety. So Ayurveda is made up of two words, Aryu and Veda. Aryu means lifespan and Veda means knowledge. So it translates as the knowledge of lifespan. And it is reckoned to be the oldest tradition of healthcare in the world, but we'll say one of the oldest traditions of healthcare in the world. Its roots go back thousands and thousands of years. And essentially, I'm just going to, it's very hard to give an overview of what Ayurveda is in a few words, and I don't want to take up too much time on the doctors, but essentially what it is it sees health in terms of balance and ill health in terms of imbalance. Now, if you look at the word disease, that's contained in that word anyway. Disease is dis-ease. The system is no longer at ease with itself. And when the system goes out of balance, that manifests itself in every disease that you can think of. Just different things manifest themselves in different ways. But the beautiful thing about Ayurveda is that it sees everybody as being completely unique, that no two people are identical. People can have similar qualities, but none of us are exactly the same. And in Ayurveda, we categorize people according to three main doshas, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So Pitta is associated with the fire element. So Pitta people would be, they like to understand things. They like to be in charge of things. They are of medium built. They're very clever people. They like to be in control. They're very ambitious. All of those things are very good, but if there's too much of that element, if they go out of balance, what happens with Pitta people is they can become prone to being angry. They can become impatient. They can have liver disease, psoriasis. All those things are associated with too much of that in their physiology. Kapha is associated with earth, so Kapha people tend to have a very big build. They tend to be very stable. They tend to have slow digestion and slow at taking up things, but once they've taken it up, they retain it. They have very strong immunity, so they don't tend to suffer from too many diseases. It takes a lot to make them sick. But when out of balance, if there's too much of that Kapha element, they suffer from things like obesity, from depression, from lethargy, from lack of desire to do anything. And then the third dosha that Ayurveda has, and all of these three doshas are in everybody, but to different quantities, is called Vata. And that's the one we're going to be quite concerned about tonight. Vata is air and space. And Vata people tend to be very thin, have a very quick moving mind. They're very creative, but their mind goes from one thing to another. They find it very difficult to keep their attention on anything. And there's a lot of movement in Vata people. But if that movement becomes too much, if it builds up too much, in Vata people, that will manifest itself as things like anxiety, which we're going to talk about tonight, but also insomnia, Parkinson's disease, dementia. Actually, Vata is the king of the doshas, and most diseases in Ayurveda are associated with an imbalance of Vata. It's the main one. Pitta and Kapha have theirs as well, but Vata is the main one, So when someone goes and does something with Ayurveda, what they're trying to determine is what their nature is and what they may be doing in their life to cause them to go out of balance. So what are your lifestyles? So Ayurveda focuses very much around diet and lifestyle. They're the main modalities for for bringing things back into balance. Because if you can imagine, if you're a very hot person by nature, you don't need to be eating hot foods. In Ayurveda, like adds to like and increases like. So, curries and things like that won't suit someone of a pitta nature, but they may suit someone of a kapha nature. And that's to do with everything, to do with exercises, to do with color, to do with smells, to do with lifestyle. And, so Ayurveda is looking at what's your sleep like, what's your diet like, what are your exercise habits like, what's your stress management like. So basically, it's not a pill for a nil system of healthcare. It's not that you give someone some medication to help get rid of the symptoms. And I'm not saying that that's not necessary at times. It is necessary at times when something is quite acute. You may need to take medication, but that's not actually going to solve the problem. Ayurveda is always looking at what's the root cause of this, what's happening, why is this happening to you, and what can you do in your life to help redress the balance. And one thing I know from my own experience is that what works for one person is not necessarily what works for another person. We know that, even with medications, we know that medications can sometimes have found effects for one person, but doesn't have the same effect for another person. So you may have to try out different things. And in this evening's talk, we're going to be given lots of different things that people can do. And hopefully, we don't make promises to anybody, but hopefully by making these changes, and some of them will be quite small changes, you will see some benefit come into something like, well, actually, Ayurveda is not ever treating any one disease. It's always treating the person. The disease is just symptomatic of something that's wrong in there, So that's a little brief overview of what Ayurveda is. I'm going to see, can I find Dr. Brennan here? Okay, so Dr. Brennan, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Noel.
Don, do you need to share screen this evening, or are you just going to talk?
I think I'm just going to talk, Noel.
Okay, well, let me just introduce you briefly, okay? Because I know you, but a lot of the people might not know you. So Dr. Brennan is a medical doctor. He studied medicine in UCD in Dublin. He then, he did a lot of work up in the hospital in Derry during the Troubles. So he would have seen, some many different things in his time up there. He also worked as a family GP, but he became interested in Ayurveda quite a long time ago, maybe about 45 years ago. Don became interested in Ayurveda. He came across it because he had learned a technique called transcendental meditation, and he found that it was very beneficial for him. And then he found out that Ayurveda came from the same tradition as that technique of meditation came from as well. And he developed an interest in it. And he has been a huge proponent of Ayurvedic medicine. He went and studied it in India and America. He traveled around the States with Deepak Chopra at one time, many years ago. He's quite famous, actually. He's been in the media a lot. He was on the Late Late Show, and he's quite well known. He has consulted with thousands upon thousands of people. He only operates, he doesn't operate as an allopathic doctor anymore, just as an Ayurvedic doctor. And he is incredibly experienced in Ayurveda. I would have to say he's probably one of the most experienced Western doctors in Ayurveda in the world at this stage, So Dr. Brennan, I'm going to hand over to you, and you go ahead and do your presentation.
Lovely, Noel. Thank you very much. And it's lovely to see everybody here. Many old friends as well have joined us. So it's great to see you all, and welcome to our talk, our presentation on anxiety. And indeed, anxiety must be the most common complaint of all. And we all, to some extent, will suffer the anxiety. And anxiety is not necessarily a disorder, because the feeling of fear and dread and uneasiness, which is anxiety, may be quite a natural and appropriate and helpful feeling. Because if we are threatened or in a position where we could be threatened, the anxiety gives us the focus and the energy to appropriately respond if there's a need. So we all at times are going to find situations and conditions not to our liking and not necessarily to our good. So we do have this normal response of anxiety. But anxiety becomes a disorder, where anxiety it doesn't go away, or it gets worse over time. And the symptoms begin to interfere with activities like your work, or for children, their schoolwork, or interfere with relationships. And really, an anxiety disorder happens when anxiety is interfering with your ability to function, or when your reactions are out of proportion to the situation, or where you can't control your responses to situations. And you start to get anxious thoughts or beliefs that are hard to control. They make you feel restless, tense, irritable, with difficulty concentration, and they start to interfere with your daily life. Maybe the pounding heart, or the unexplained aches and pains, or the headache, or the stomach ache, or dizziness, or short of breath. These physical symptoms can be the manifestation of the anxiety, the anxious state of mind. And even changes in behavior might be symptoms where you're avoiding everyday activities that you used to do. And then again, sleep problems for many people are a symptom of the anxiety. So in medicine, they will define different types of anxiety disorders, like the general anxiety disorder, which would be the disorder that most anxious people would suffer. But there are other disorders like panic disorders, where people can end up being casualty because of their pounding heart and be told that there's nothing wrong with them. But of course there is. They're very anxious. Or phobias, the like. Medicine would say that the cause of anxiety, like the cause of many conditions, is not known. But in fact, I think medicine is giving us a clearer and clearer picture, and science is giving us a clearer picture of causes. The difficulty in medicine is to look for one cause, whereas the reality for most chronic conditions is multiple causes. But medicine will mention things like genetics and the brain biology and the brain chemistry and your environment. So it's interesting to look at those, and to keep in mind the ancient tradition of Ayurveda, and to see that Ayurveda already had all of this understood, and had in place the strategies to both prevent and to ameliorate anxiety. So medicine would talk about genetics, and now, of course, we do know epigenetics. What's far more interesting than the DNA. Okay, the DNA is passed down through the generations, but the epigenetics is how your environment and your mood and your diet, and how all of that you do here and now turns on and off the various genes in the DNA. The various informations that flow can be dependent upon your circumstances to a great extent. But what is really interesting is that the epigenes, the epigenetics from your parents, can be influencing you. So you do inherit, from the parents. In fact, in the Vedic tradition from which Ayurveda comes, 7 generations back can have an influence on you. So, my God. But what very interesting now is the research showing that in the year prior to conception, the father and the mother, their state of health can impact not just the fetus and the growth in the womb, but also even the brain of the child that is born and develops. And for example, a depressed father for the year before the birth of the child gives rise to a greatly increased, maybe up to a 40% increase in premature deliveries of the baby. So that year before, Ayurveda would have recommended that the parents take excellent care of their health, get themselves to the best, do cleansing procedures to bring their physiology to the best balance possible for the sake of conception. Now, the pregnant lady, her stress and her imbalances throughout the pregnancy are now understood, and the research is showing what a profound impact they have on the child. on the growing child in their womb and on the child, you know, after it's born. Like, you know, if the mother has a lot of stress, then the brain structure is altered to be more prone to stress and less capable of handling stress, not just as a child, but throughout life. Whereas in Ayurveda, it is absolutely the father's responsibility to ensure that the mother is totally taken care of and absolutely without stress during her pregnancy. But that's not just the father's responsibility. That was the responsibility of the family as a whole. The whole family was nurturing the child through the mother. And then even when the child was born, that extended out to the whole village, who now took it in their stride to take care of the mother for 6 weeks, total silence, no responsibilities, just be with the child. And, you know, the whole emphasis was on, you know, maintaining a possibility for the child to have an absolute presence of the parents. And a presence is just what is an infant? What is an infant? Only presence. They're just consciousness. What starts first to develop is emotion. Two emotions are possible, love or fear. Now, when the mother breastfeeds and looks into the eyes of the child and the two of them connect, there's an absolute profound presence, which gives the child absolute security. And that sort of nurturing in those early months will determine the very structure of the child's brain and make the child much more resilient for life from stress. And you know, that is very profound, and it's why Ayurveda places so much emphasis on the various developmental stages of the child and the nurturing of the child, the foods. So it's really something our society fails dramatically with. So these are the brain changes then that medicine talks about in terms of anxiety and the chemical imbalances that occur. But as we grow up and, you know, as we then function, our society is sick. It's inhumane in many ways because of the emphasis on materialism and because of the disempowerment of people who end up in jobs that are incredibly demanding and with perhaps long commutes and all of this. It doesn't allow that people have their own presence to themselves, which is the basis of true love and true integrity and true calm and wisdom in their lives. So we have a toxic situation in our materialistic culture, a competitive sort of a capitalist culture, which does not promote calm. Why do I say all this? Because, you know, if you have an anxiety disorder, don't think it's your fault. It may be 7 generations before, it may be the conditions of conception, pregnancy, it may have been the incapacity and impossibility of your parents being totally present to give you that calm settedness, to allow your brain to structure such incredible resilience as to get the greatest potential out of your possibilities in life. So, you know, don't take it personally. You could even just be the canary in the coal mine, as it were, because in this toxic environment that we have to survive in and do our best to thrive in, some are more sensitive. And that's like the canary in the coal mine, where carbon monoxide poisoning was that the miners had a canary in a cage because the canary would flop over dead from the carbon monoxide poisoning before they'd flop over and die. If they saw the canary flop, they ran out of that mine. And so like that, some are more sensitive. And Rajvinder will give you, Dr. Rajvinder, when talking about the Ayurvedic perspective, will give you great insight into how it is that you may be more vulnerable. And while I'm painting a dire picture in terms of our brain structure and chemistry and the consequences of, you know, all our past, where we keep in mind now is the wonderful information from the scientific research that we have brain plasticity. That means we're constantly restructuring the brain. We even have brain stem cells. We can create new brain cells. But as we go on, we transform our experiences into the very network of fibers that connect in the brain, the very structure of the brain. And by choosing here and now, all that can bring a more integrity to the brain, we can take responsibility and undo damage done and start to unfold more potential, including a more calm and content demeanor in life. When medicine talks about anxiety, it talks about the complications of depression, substance abuse, insomnia, digestive problems, headaches, social isolation. But all of these are, possible to influence positively through very simple strategies of lifestyle diet. Remember the epigenes, how you live determines what flows from your genetic potential, and you have control over that. The treatments in medicine would be psychotherapy, cognitive behavior, or things like mindfulness, or medicines. And the medicines are not very wonderful because the Valium type medicines, which really worked, they were thought to be, brilliant until it was discovered that they become addictive and they can only be used for a day, 2 days, 3 days for maximum, or else people become so dependent on them. If they stop, they're really in panics. So then the other medicines work on the physical side to try and stop the heartbeat and the heavy breathing, and by relaxing the body, then relax the mind. Or you move on to very powerful medicines, antidepressants for anxiety. They're not ideal. And especially, I would always say, they should be at least combined with all the strategies that Rajvinder is going to talk about, and everything that you can do from your side. And in that regard, I'm going to just mention one thing that Noel already talked about, that I came to this whole approach through my experience of transcendental meditation. And I've talked about two fundamental emotions that exist. One is love, and the other is fear. Now, fear-based emotion causes a response that takes you through your primitive brain and stimulates the whole stress response in the body, which then can give rise to inflammation and all sorts of other consequences, of ill health. And unfortunately, whereas anxiety initially is appropriate to the situation, we're anxious, so we mobilize and we respond. And our ability to respond is increasing as we mobilize more of our resources. But with constant stress, that suddenly starts to even out, and the demands may be getting more, but we can't actually cope. And for a short time, we may cope, but then we start to collapse, and then comes burnout, and then comes all sorts of consequences. And I would imagine, like as a medical student, I was pretty much coming to that point. But I learned transcendental meditation, and I discovered presence. I discovered a simple strategy, a technique, sitting in a chair, that just doing it, the mind came to stillness. That stillness is presence. That presence is genuinely being with yourself, love. It's a very sublime reality of being present to yourself. Interesting, as a medical student, to note that what was developing through the habit of transcending was new connections in the brain. Now, instead of the default through the primitive brain, other connections could start to take over, and higher centers could come in and say, no, there's nothing to worry about. And so this actual material brain structure begins to develop. Another thing that happens in that situation where we grow up in fear is there's a bundle of centers that run from the frontal lobe here back in a line. And those centers all give you your feeling of who you are. Who am I? You know, me, as opposed to everything else. And with that growth of fear in life, those centers get so highly connected just to themselves that people's vision, their ability to appreciate and to understand life is all based upon me. What do they think of me? You know, and those people are much more prone to anxiety attacks, panics, depression, all the rest. What happens with the regular meditation is an increased enrichment of connections with all the other brain centers. So life starts to be seen as it is, life as a whole, not so me focused as to, you know, these people have their own problems. They're, you know, there's nothing to do with me. So these sort of transformations that occur so naturally with that technique are just one example of one technique from the Ayurvedic tradition. This was handling anxiety from the level of your mind. Dr. Rajvinder will give you a lot of insight in how to understand yourself in relation to anxieties. That is working from the mind, but also very many practical techniques. And this is nothing foreign to us. I came on with a cup of tea. And you'd love to know what I'm drinking, wouldn't you? And I thought to myself, what should I drink going into this talk? And I remembered lemon balm. So McNally's farm in North Dublin produced a lovely lemon balm, which I chopped up and infused for 10 minutes in boiling water and made my tea. Because I remembered that in the 1800s, the students in Cambridge and Oxford, when it came to exam time, if they wanted their brains to perform, and if they wanted to be nice and calm and relaxed to handle the stressful situation of the exam, they were drinking lemon balm tea. Well, Rajvinder will have many more herbs to tell you about that can empower you to settle your brain chemistry as you restructure your brain, as you through the various protocols that Dr. Rajvinder will bring to your notice, take your life into your hands and unfold more of your potential of pure presence to yourself and all you love. And that is what this ancient tradition of Ayurveda has given us as a possibility. Okay, Noah?
Thanks very much, Don. So I kind of got good news and bad news from your talk in some ways, because obviously we can't do anything too much about you know, the epigenetics that we came into this world with. You know, if our parents were in difficult situations, and I suppose many people's parents were in difficult situations, you know, and you know, maybe we're born into a household where there wasn't much wealth and there was, you know, a lot of stress and things like that, and that's going to have an impact on us growing up, and maybe make us more liable to suffer from things like anxiety. And then not only that, but all the things that happened to you as you were growing up. So if we see in Ireland, the stories we've heard recently, you know, about those kids in school, you know, I mean, that can only have a massive effect on them throughout their lives, whether it's in anger or anxiety, or I'm sure all of these things are both mental and physical. They probably increase your chances of getting cancer and increase your chances of getting all sorts of things, and basically just making the wrong choices in life. And that's kind of the negative side of stuff, because the past is the past and there's probably not so much we can do about it. But the good news that you gave is that these things are changeable, and that's what I always that's what I always like, you know. So we do have choices in the here and now, and it's about making those right choices in the here and now. And I know you mentioned meditation there, transcendental meditation in particular, but I think maybe probably many forms of meditation. I mean, TM is my own preference as well. I've been doing it for over 35 years now, but there are lots of other forms of meditation that I think will benefit people, or even maybe not even what people might call prayer as opposed to meditation. But also just simple things, and Rajvinder is going to talk about these things, but also just simple things like spending time in nature. I think nature is a great healer as well. And, you know, just walking beside a river or walking beside trees or spending nice time with friends and family in a non-confrontational way where you can just relax. And I think anything that can relax your system, and the more it can relax it, the more beneficial it would be. Now, it's interesting that you said about, I mean, I know people, I have, you know, people that I know that take Xanax and things like that, and, you know, they can't do without them in certain cases. And you've said that in acute conditions that, you know, when something is very extreme, but as a long-term treatment for your anxiety, it's probably not a great idea to be on medication, you know, for years and years and years, because all of these things are going to have an impact on other aspects of your life, other physical aspects of your life as well, you know. So thanks very much for that, Don. There's a lot of people saying very nice things there. And
Thank you.
so yeah, so Dr. Rajvinder, and we will go back to questions later on. I'll be going back through the chats that you're putting in here. Most of them are just complimentary there, but and I'll let people know how they can get in touch with Dr. Brennan and the other doctors as well. But I'm going to introduce Dr. Rajvinder first. So Dr. Rajvinder is an Ayurvedic doctor. And in India, an Ayurvedic doctor is called a Vaidya. And so you often see that word associated with Ayurvedic doctor. So her title would be Vaidya Rajvinder Kaur. And in India, to become an Ayurvedic doctor, it is a 6-year degree course, the same as medicine. And then you spend time in working in hospitals and working in inpatient facilities. Now, Dr. Rajvinder came to Ireland in 2007. And was very surprised, I think, to find out that there was an Ayurveda Centre in Dublin, and got in touch with us. And we were absolutely thrilled to have someone of her skills and knowledge and experience in Dublin. And she started working for the Ayurveda Centre in Dublin. And initially she set up our spa, our treatment spa, and she set up our cookery courses. And then she started running different educational courses. And she's been with us since 2007. And she now runs her practice from Lucan, and she's consulted with, you know, so many people, and runs our detox courses and runs many courses for us. So she's incredibly experienced, and she is going to get, maybe Dr. Brennan's was a little bit abstract, okay, but I'm hoping Dr. Rajvinder, well, I'm not hoping, I'm sure Dr. Rajvinder, there's going to be some more very practical points, because we did mention about altering your diet and your lifestyle, and this being able to have an impact on your anxiety. So I'm going to unmute Dr. Rajvinder. So Dr. Rajvinder, you're very welcome along.
Thank you. Thank you, Noel. Thank you, Dr. Don, for a wonderful presentation. It's like there's a lot of pressure on me.
No pressure on you, Dr. Rajvinder.
No, I'm just kidding. Noel, can you allow me to share?
Yeah, you should be able to share now. And just Rajvinder, if you move close to your microphone, because you're just a little bit faint, you know.
Okay, let me.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you all right. Yeah.
Okay, so just a simple Word document I prepare. I thought might be easier for some people when they see things, they learn better. I'm like that as well. But if a speaker is wonderful like Dr. Don, you don't need that. So yeah, so as we heard a little bit about body types from Noel, and Dr. Brennan gave you some hint, and I see some of you are with Ayurveda Centre from a long time, so some of your students, so it'll be very beneficial to listen to some of these things. So I tried to put it for as much as educational as I could, but yeah, do feel free to ask questions if there are doubts and things like that. So I'm going to quickly walk you through with a little bit with what is Vata Pitta Kapha, but you can easily do a questionnaire on the online, a lot of questionnaire available, or our free online Ayurveda course is very good. If some of you are new and you don't know what is my personality, what is your body type, because Ayurveda is an individual approach which works on your unique body type. So first thing to understand is that. And so to move further. So yeah, so that's just a little bit. If you see here, Vata is worried looking, which Vata are prone to worry a lot. And Pitta is like frustrated, irritated looking. So that's what Pitta more tend to have. and kaphas are like depressed, that winter blue, that kind of doubtful kind of emotions. That's what kapha have. So that's just a general introduction. I'm not going too much into depth what Ayurveda is. Noel did touch on a little bit on that, which is knowledge of life. And Ayurveda is based on this unique principle or unique theory that our body is made up of the 5 elements of the universe. So everything, like Dr. Don said, epigenetic, which is your environment, which is your food, everything that is in the universe that affect you on every level, mind, body, consciousness, emotions, and everything. So that's why your epigenetic is very important, because you are made up of this. You have air in you, you have fire in you, you have water in you. So based on these elements, the Ayurveda conclude 3 body types. There could be many more, but there are 8 different combinations which come out of 3 Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. There are Vata Pitta people, Pitta Kapha people, Pitta Vata. So it depends on your dominancy. So that's something you want to find out either by consultation or online courses and things like that. So by understanding how your dosha, which is also known as prakriti, so dosha, prakriti, and body type, they are one word, they mean the same thing. And so understanding that and how your prakriti and doshas are interconnected to affect your mind, your emotions, and your behavior responses, it really helps you to understand, to handle things differently. When you know, oh, I am vata, I am prone to worry, that's my nature, then you learn the strategy, like diet and lifestyle, how you can keep yourself in balance. And you recognize yourself quickly. Oh, today I'm a little bit more worried or tired. My anxiety score is high today. And that could be, I didn't sleep very well last night, or I was doing too many meetings, or I was rushing, I missed my meal. So you just try to make sense of that, and that makes life much easier. And it does help to understand the anxiety better. And then you have joy in your life, and everything around you is more joyful. Okay, so just quickly, what is Vata, what is Pitta, what is Kapha? So Vata is a combination of air and space element. So Vata people are normally, if you look at the quality of air, air is normally light. So Vata people are light body frame. They're quick moving. They talk too quickly, or mind moves too fast. But they're moving all the time, and they blink too much or move their hands and feet. So there's some kind of movement either in the mind or body. And they tend to be dry skin, dry scalp, things like that. Cold hands and feet, circulation is not good. And because of poor circulation, weakness in the nervous system is expected. And they're very irregular in their sleeping pattern, in their appetite, or in their general energy levels and all that. And Pitta is combination of fire and water. And as you know, fire is hot, so Pitta people will be slightly more warm than the Vata people, and they could be very sharp. Their brain is very sharp. Because of sharp brain, they have higher expectation or higher ambitions, and that can lead to anxiety. And they will be slightly oily. So I'm just talking what is more appropriate for this. And then Kapha is a combination of water and earth element. So as you can expect, earth is heavy. So Kapha tend to have that heaviness, that sluggishness in their system that can make them in low mood and doubtful kind of personality. Okay, so you know more about it. As I said, questionnaires or consultation or free course is very useful. So some of the common symptoms, Dr. Brennan already have spoken, but that's what I'm going to talk for the next few minutes. Like racing thoughts, mind never shut up. It just keep on going on a circle of thoughts. That's there. Panic attacks are there. Chest pain, palpitations, heart is racing. That is there. Pain in the ribs could be there. And the upset kind of stomach, like pain in the stomach or IBS kind of symptoms, are there because of anxiety. Nothing wrong with the digestion, but there is anxiety. And Vata especially tend to be hypersensitive, and noises or anything can make them anxious. And normally people are suffering from anxiety kind of get detached from their personality, seeking to be ill, looking for a reason that something is wrong with me. Health anxiety is there, and they cannot relax and enjoy the stuff that they used to enjoy. Insomnia, headaches, tiredness, which can turn into chronic fatigue if it's not managed, and frequent urination, frequent toilet visits, either urine or bowel movement, chest pain, bloating, nausea, loss of appetite, or increase in appetite could be there. And like Kapha can do emotional eating. neck pain, back pain, pain behind the eyes, tinnitus, it could be there because of anxiety, flutters, people are seeing those images because of anxiety, because that make your head very light. And then the vertigo could be there as well, if there is too much of the air element, the vata element. Tired looking face, if a person is not resting, so of course there could be tired. Air hunger, gasping for air is a very common sign of anxiety. And then looking for internet for answers, Googling all the time, what's wrong with me?
Sorry,
Okay, so
Binder. I
slow
see
down.
from Megan Farmer, you're going a bit fast and it's giving her anxiety.
Okay. Okay, I slow down a bit. There's a bit to cover, so no, I'll slow down. Okay,
Good,
I'll send this PDF to you, this Word document to you guys. You can go through it, and then that's why I wrote it down everything, so that yeah, I tend to go fast. Okay, I'll slow down. So let's explore the Prakriti, the body type, and its relation with anxiety. Thank you, Doctor. And so Vata people in general are like little birds in the nature. So, the birds are free, and when they are in balance, they are chirpy, joyful, living the life. That's what the people are. Like, they could be the charm for so many people, and they're a little angel, and they're very angel kind of nature, Vata people, when they are in balance. But when they're out of balance, that's that a little Batman who gone into silence. So that could be like when the Vata is gone into balance, and they lose that creativity that they're very good at, and they lose that they tend to develop more social anxiety. As Dr. Brennan was saying, what people think of me, that body image and all that could slowly occur if the Vata go out of balance. So then they become hypersensitive, and their lack of flexibility is not there. They don't want to go out and meet people, not able to make sense of things, and become extra conscious of themselves. Either health anxiety or social anxiety could be very common in Vata people. So behavioral symptoms of Vata, restlessness, can't get to sleep. All of a sudden they're crying, they're smiling, so emotional outbursts are there. Finding fault with others, become more critical, insecure, and loss of appetite, lose weight because of that, become very fearful and feel lonely. So when anxiety is quite acute, people experience palpitations or these kind of panic attacks. So that's one of the common thing. And muscular pain could be there, as I already mentioned, the ribs pain and things like that. You can see in this little cartoon image that the dizziness is there, detachment is there, shortness of breath is there, muscular pain is there, and then slowly it can lead to vertigo. And then it lead to neck pain as well. And neck pain can cause vertigo, so other way around as well. And the physical symptoms could be anxiety attacks, palpitation, excessive dry, chappy skin, frequent prolonged headache. Headaches were not there before, and now they're not shifting. Joint pain, neck pain, all kind of pain, insomnia, pain in the back of eye, I covered that already, low blood pressure, and IBS could be there. And the psychological symptoms could be full of doubt, self-doubt, doubting others, closed mindset, erratic thoughts, daydreaming, and disconnecting from their personality. So that's Vata. So we'll look into the management later. And Pittas are like a tiger in the nature, focus on the target, very ambitious, perfectionist. That's one of the things that can cause anxiety in Pitta people. They're trying to do everything in a perfectional manner. I normally say to my patient, allow some space for mistakes in your life, in your things that you do. Try not to become a super perfectionist. I know some of we are. Behavioral symptom, and that's our teachers put in us that we have to be perfectionists and everything. I'm doing a consultation for an Indian patient, little girl in her, I think that one must be her first year of her secondary school, and she's a head girl and she's super perfectionist and everything. Her iron level is too low. There's a lot of anxiety, and because of that, she has lost her periods. So you can see that what anxiety can do to your hormones as well. And then behavior symptoms, Pitta dosha, micromanagement, trying to look into details for everything, looking for mistakes. They could be very, very critical or sharp and bitter, snappy. Self-harming thoughts could be there for Pitta. steam off quickly. Too much ego could be there, high self-pride, I know everything kind of personality, and very self-centered, very selfish they can become. And then physical symptoms could be skin. Vata could have dry, chappy skin, and Pitta could have very inflamed skin with redness. If there is any underlying eczema, psoriasis, things like that, they can flare up with these emotions. Acidity and burning sensation could be there. It can cause heartburn in Pitta people. It can cause IBS in Vata, and in Pitta that lead to heartburn. Frequent burping too much, stomach pain, diarrhea, a burning sensation, something is crawling on their body, that kind of sensation, too much sweating, hot flushes could be there. And then the psychological symptoms could be self-justification, focusing only for self-gain, no compassion for others, always looking for external validation. And so that's Pitta. And then Kaphas are like a little elephant in the nature, calm, and they're balanced, they're calm, easygoing, very content, very blissful, and they are always ready to learn, ready to listen to people and give people advice. It feels very nice around them. But when they're out of balance, they could be very lazy, they could have no passion. They also find it very difficult to prove things, so they are always looking for somebody else to validate or choose for them. They may not leave house for days. They could be very much like, oh, I don't need to meet anywhere, or doing too much emotional eating and putting on weight. Constipation could be there in Kapha people because of that. No focus or self-driving force to move things in life. Insecurity about self-talent, self-doubt. Self-doubt is in Vata, and self-doubt is in Kapha as well. In Vata, it's mostly what others think of me. Kapha, it's mostly about myself. Oh, I cannot do this. Oh, it's too much. I don't have the knowledge. So even though they might have knowledge, but they self-doubt. Procrastinator, cannot make decision, hold things, don't let go, and letting go is a problem for them. And then physical symptoms, very heavy breath. They don't need to gasp for air, but kind of deep, not that kind of breath, kind of a different kind of breath will be there, like not an air hunger kind. Mucus nasal congestion, dullness, lethargy, sinus. So mucus, as we know, Kapha is all about mucus, so that can increase in their body. Psychological symptoms, no clarity in thoughts, and not in connection with intuition or anything. Highly dreamy thinking, and emotionally manipulative. So these are like, I just walk you through what can happen in different doshas. So clearly it's not a one size fit all. Everybody is different from each other. So anxiety can be presented differently if you're Vata, if you're Pitta, if you're Kapha. So this was just in general what you expect when anxiety is there. So we're going to talk about now management of anxiety. So Ayurveda is big into daily routine, seasonal routine, balanced diet. Dr. Brennan touched on meditation, a good form of meditation, and then a good routine. Sleep hygiene is very important. So these things, main things to focus on. Again, daily routine could be tailored according to your body type, but in general, what works for people is regular self-massage. We talk a lot about self-massage in our courses or our webinars. So it's a simple thing. You take either sesame oil, or when there's anxiety, the mind tend to be racing. So to calm that mind, to bring that mind into present moment, oil with the calming or stimulating aroma oil could be very beneficial. So for Vata people, like a Vata massage oil or Vata aroma oil is wonderful. So you can use, let's say, sesame oil, few drops of Vata aroma oil, or Pitta aroma oil, or Kapha aroma oil. There is even sweet sleep aroma oil. There is, I think, that blissful aroma oil. So whichever you are going to choose, almost all of them are very good. And it's just like you can take a little bit of aroma oil and take some kind of sniffle it in. It bring you in the present moment quickly and calm you down. You have heard about lavender, pillow spray, or those kind of things that help to sleep. So aroma oils are very wonderful. So self-massage with the base oil and a little bit aroma oil is good. So self-massage in general is long strokes over muscles, circles over joints, and you can do a bit of tapping on your head to improve the circulation. For Vata people, dry brushing could be very good for Kapha people. So stimulation and more grounding for Vata, more calming, cooling for Pitta, and more stimulating for Kapha. And then regular exercise. For Vata people, advice is tend to avoid overdoing exercise, like don't burn out yourself. And Pitta is also like burning the candle from the both sides. So that's what they need to recognize. What are my triggers? What am I doing? Or I'm working too hard or too much. I need to add more fun and joy in my life. I need to take holidays. And that's what Pitta need. So advice around Vata is all about grounding, and advice around Pitta is joy, fun, taking time off, and don't be work alcoholic. And then advice for Kapha is a little bit more stimulation. Don't eat very heavy meal in the evening time, because that's going to increase the Kapha element, and move a bit more. And then sleep. Nowadays, we all kind of tend to go to bed 12 to most of the time when I do consultations, yeah, people, their bedtime is half 11, 12, or even worse. And that completely throw the liver out of the kilter. And liver regulate our hormones, liver regulate the neurotransmitter, and it does help to keep your Vata with the Kapha in balance. So a good bedtime routine is very important. If you can go to bed by 10, which Ayurveda say you go to bed by 10 and by 6, you can maybe have 10 or 11, but try to be bed by then. And in the morning time, you get up, you do your oil pulling, tongue scraping. Nasal drops are very beneficial when you have anxiety. And you can use either almond oil, walnut oil, or we have a special Kapha people when they have all those nasal congestion issues, MP16 nasal drops, they are very good. Because nose is the gateway to the brain. So to strengthen the brain, oil is beneficial. And then balanced diet, make sure you don't go behind this different diet protocol, this and that. Try to have a balanced diet where you have healthy carbs, because our brain run on glucose. So we do need carbs in our diet, and healthy fats. And we all know cholesterol is so important for our brain, but again, healthy form of cholesterol, balance of saturated and unsaturated fat, that kind of thing. So educate yourself about carbs, which are rich in fiber, slow release of sugar, like quinoa, which is source of protein and carb, and a good source of protein in your diet. And other essential nutrients in your diet, which come from fruits and seeds and nuts and stuff like that. So you need to have a balanced diet. So your plate should have if you're Vata, more carbs, and if you're Pitta, more protein, and if you're Kapha, and more vegetables. So that kind of plate you need to. And also, as I said, essential omega, let's say omega-3 or something from pumpkin seed, chia seeds, that kind of essential nutrients add into your diet as well. And drop high sugar if you're somebody who eat a lot of sugar, because sugar can interfere with your chemicals, the neurotransmitter, that communication that happen between your neurons, which control your emotions and all this behavior. So don't take high sugar diet. And and stimulating drinks like caffeine. If you drink coffee, try to kind of moderate it, maybe 1 cup a day or maximum 2, and not very strong one. And then try to not have too much of alcohol or any other stimulants. Drink more water. Water is very essential for functioning of the whole physiology. 70% of us is water, so that's why we need to have a good amount of water in our on our daily basis. And I said already talked about the sleep hygiene. And then in the evening, spend time with your family. If you're somebody 9-to-5 job, come home, unwind yourself, do your meditation, have a nice warm light dinner, spend time with your family. We all want to have some fun. We all want to chillax in front of TV. So you can do that, but try not to watching TV and scrolling or on your phone same time, or there is some very violent programs going on there, because the regular watching of violent program, those guns, and that's on the movies nowadays focus on that can imbalance the Vata. So something more joyful, romantic stuff or something, yeah. So just like idea is not to stimulate yourself too much before you go to bed. Get to know your trigger. We all have triggers. Maybe you're too tired, you get anxious. Maybe you skip your meal, you get anxious. And some of you might have young children, so take some help and take some time. Do something that you like to do in your free time. Try not to just sit or become a couch potato and be on your phone. Go spend time in nature and learn to forgive, especially Pitta people. And they take everything very, very hard, so they need to let go. They need to forgive and have some joy, because they're very good people and full of humor. But when they're out of balance, anxious, they could be very irritated and full of criticism. So they need to learn to forgive as well. Spend time in nature, because that oxygen, especially Vata people, when I'm talking about air hunger, less oxygen is going to their brain. So you need to be in the nature to have more oxygen into your body. Oxygenated water is something new things nowadays. You can look into that if you have oxygen problem. Ashwagandha is very good to enhance oxygen in the blood. And embrace any change. The seasonal routine is very important. Like we are almost about to finish our detox group of people, and they are talking about how like few people had emotional stuff, and now they feel so light and bright and ready for the autumn. So there are a lot of seasonal advices. We detox twice a year. And then with the change of the season, now the evening time is a bit more cold. So bringing more blankets and keeping yourself warm. Start bringing your warm clothes out as well, and eating more warm food. Trying to slowly reduce the amount of salads or cold food or cold drinks that you have in your diet. So change with the season, adjust yourself with that. Recreational activities are very important, and there are lots of herbs which you can take under the guidance of Vaja. So I'll introduce a few of them soon. And then I have some yoga suggestion. I haven't included a lot of them. I'm sure all of you do some good exercise and good yoga practices and all that. So this is just like what kind of yoga is good for Vata people. One second. Sorry, I forgot I can unmute myself. Okay. And so Vata people, more grounding practices, balancing postures are very good, because like a tree pose or any kind of balancing postures you are familiar with, because they help you to bring into the present moment, and they distract the mind from all the thoughts and other worrying stuff. So you are here in the present moment. And cat and cow, because spinal fluid help to recharge and rejuvenate the brain nervous system. So cat and cow is a wonderful posture for Vata people. Like these postures are good for all the three doshas, but just like I wanted to highlight it, which ones are, if you don't have time and you just want to do 5 minutes of posture, so these three postures could be very good for Vata people. And then the child pose, which is like your head is resting on the ground, and it is very much kind of connecting you and grounding your posture as well. And they all are very energizing, very stimulating, and very calming and balancing for Vata. So the balance pose, as I said, have to calm the mind and help with the focus in the present moment. Cat and cow, very good to move spinal fluids and rejuvenate your nervous system. Child pose is very good for deep rest, even though you're not sleeping in it, but it brings the rest very quickly to the body. And you can also do some shaking of your hands and feet, some circular movements of joint. And then on the breathing side, alternate nostril breathing is wonderful for all the three doshas. Beside alternate nostril, humming bee is very good for Vata. And because Vata have the talking mind all the time, so they need to distract the mind. So humming bee is like hum, you're humming like a bee. So you inhale from your one, you don't have to, sorry, you just inhale from your nostrils. And then as you're exhaling, you hum. So it's like, so you visualize, you can close your eyes and you can visualize a little flower or a bee humming around it. So it connects you with yourself as well. So it's very good. It's really a treat for Vata. And then it bring the inner calmness, which Vata like a lot. And then the Pitta yoga postures for Pitta people, twists are very good, because Pittas are more liver organ for Pitta. So when they're twisting, it helps to stimulate the liver and stomach more, small intestine. So the place of Pitta in the body is liver and small intestine. And so twist, chest opening, calming, cooling exercises. And then the Shitli pranayam, this alternate nostril, as I said, good for all, but for Pitta people, the Shitli pranayam, which is like you're sucking through a straw and you're making bubbles, that kind. So it can bring you quick oxygen and calm. It's very cooling sensation if you are someone Pitta and you feel a bit irritated and all of that. And then so here I given one image of this side twist and this bridge pose, because that's also kind of stimulating and opening the chest. And then half moon, because moon is wonderful for Pitta. So anything that is cooling and opening up your body parts, moving the energy around is good for Pitta people. And Kapha is in the upper part of the body, so the focus is more on the chest and neck and all those areas. So mini cobra, Scorpio, half kind of headstand, and then warrior pose. They could be very good for Kapha people. And the breathing exercise that's good for Kapha people is the fire breath, which is like forceful exhalation. So the inhalation just happen itself. You don't need to worry about inhalation. So when I'm saying yoga and all that, so the routine could be you can do massage, which warm up your body, and then you do some mini like circling all of your joints, and then a little bit more warming up postures, like a gentle jogging on your mat, and then you get into 2 to 5 minutes of these yoga postures, and then do alternate nostril breathing and the second breath that I've suggested, and then do a meditation. So this simple routine could be very good for you. Okay, so hope all this makes sense. And now we are getting into the herbs. Marishi Ayurveda preparation, what we have is worry-free. Well, I do want to say that you do consult your practitioner, because you might be on a medication from your doctors and you want to make sure this suits you, or don't self-medicate. So do want to say that. And then worry-free is MA1401, very good. It's also known as Vata balance. And then there's another preparation, blissful joy, which is good for Kapha people. And then MA222, which could be in general for all the three, but for Pitta people, because it's more on the cooling and nourishing side. Okay, and then nasal drop I already mentioned, and better consult that kind of and then somebody was asking about ashwagandha. Yes, ashwagandha is an adaptogen, and ashwagandha is used a lot for the anxiety. The thing about ashwagandha or these adaptogenic herbs are they adapt to your system slowly. So you might be taking ashwagandha and you feel a little bit overwhelmed or a little bit more anxious. So nothing to worry about it, because it's slowly going to calm down your adrenal and settle to your system. So that can happen on these adaptogenic herbs. That's why I'm asking you to take under supervision, because they need time to adapt. And it depends on, are you in acute phase or chronic phase, or how long the problem is there? Because in the acute phase, you need low dosage and gradually increase it. And so it can help to sustain you good energy and good night's sleep. It could be taken in the powder form or tablet form, whatever suits you. And then another herb is Brahmi. Brahmi is very good herb to rejuvenate your mind and nerves and enhance functions of neurotransmitter. So neurotransmitters are chemicals in the brain like serotonin level, all that. They help with the mood and anxiety. And that's what your doctor probably give you, some kind of neurotransmitter or neurosuppressant, something like that. And Vata, Pitta, Kapha, these are the hormones I ever talked about. And then a very good probiotic. Probiotic is also good because our gut bacteria communicate with the brain. So a good gut bacteria is needed. So good probiotic. Vitamin B12 is very important for functions of brain. Vitamin D3 is good on exposure to the sunlight and all that. A multivitamin like 50 plus or something that could be that have B12, vitamin D, other micro minerals like copper, selenium, boron, they're good for brain functions. And then the other thing which I mentioned here is lion's mane mushrooms. You can buy them and cook them, or they are available in the capsule form. GABA is a neurotransmitter. Magnesium malate is a form of magnesium that is important for brain functions. Are some of the beneficial supplements, but there are lots of neurotransmitter which you can take under the guidance of your general practitioner, which wouldn't have that kind of side effects or habit forming things that can happen from the anxiety medication. And teas, Dr. Brennan touched on the lemon balm. Yeah, wonderful herb you can grow in your house. Chamomile, you buy the chamomile dry flowers from Asian stores and make your own little decoction. Marry share with the tea. Take it easy is a very good tea. And then fennel is very good. Fennel is a calming herb for nervous system. Gotu kola, we have on the website Gotu kola cut, rose petals for pitta people. So there are a few more. These are some I mentioned here. So, okay, so I'm going to conclude now. So the conclusion, Dr. Benny touched on this. If you want to change something, that thought should come from you. Anxiety could be your own intense perception of it, because might be a small trigger that you need to deal, or you need to kind of break it down to different things. Why I'm feeling anxiety, and make a little chart. If it's financial problem, it's a relationship problem, is some other family issue, is some other baggage that you're carrying from childhood, or some trauma or shock. Maybe it's simplify it and then deal one thing at a time. You can deal with the daily routine, with counseling, and we have lots of tools nowadays that you can use to deal with this. You can also keep a little diary where you measure today my anxiety on the scale of 1 to 10. Where am I? Normally it is between 5 to 6, I say, and 10 is too severe. So you're like, okay, today I'm feeling a bit more hypersensitive or more vulnerable. What happened today? So tracking yourself down a little bit also help, but don't becoming over kind of obsessed about it either. And you change your perception, you must focus on a good diet and lifestyle so that your mind and nervous system is strong. Yes, because your mind, if you're too much cortisol, adrenal in your system, they're going to weaken your mind and nervous system. And then make a list of things. Yeah, seek professional help, Ayurveda, counseling, herbs, balanced diet, regular meditation, cultivate more self-love. All these things are important. And I say don't, some of the don'ts here. Don't accept that anxiety defines your identity. That's not who you are. It's just an imbalance at the moment going on. You are a very happy, let's say Vata, you're a happy, joyful, charm of life, or Vata person. But now at the moment you're feeling anxious, hypersensitive, all of this, but that's not your personality. That's not who you are. So separate that. It's only a condition that you can overcome. So it's a condition, okay? It's not a personality for you. Try to think your way out your high anxiety stress. As I said, distract yourself, go for a walk, do yoga, do breathing, do meditation, talk to somebody, go get out of it when you're feeling very anxious. And there's no single miracle thoughts to cure it. So you have to make some effort. Don't assume the worst case scenario. Anxiety and panic often lead us to engage in catastrophic thinking. Use more positive rationalization approach to recognize that it is likely anxiety that is influencing your thoughts rather than your genuine belief. Don't run away from a situation that trigger anxiety. You have to learn to face. So watch it and slowly try to, when you're ready for it, face it and overcome it. Because avoidance only going to reinforce the fear and it make it more frightening. It could be somebody you are avoiding or anything like that. And if it's a work anxiety, and look for different position or try to change. Slowly find a practice solution, yeah, to your financial, emotional, whatever it is there, look for that. And I suggest engage in the activity that you enjoy and try to learn something new. Like go for dancing, go to yoga class, go to a pool, something new that can help you, and not a big financial burden either. And by establishing new positive thought pattern, you're giving your nervous system a break, and you can restart rewiring your brain. So you need to keep your mind distracted and occupied. Don't leave it empty and run it like a monkey. And communicate with people, the people who really loves you, understand you, and they will give you time and space, and they will have the patience that is needed for you to work on this. That way you don't have that social anxiety pressure, and you're not alone. So do meet your family, friends, and people. Do talk about it. Seek help. Okay, so thank you. I think.
Okay, Dr. Rajvinder, thanks very much. That's very, very comprehensive. There is a huge amount of information in there. One of the things that comes across very strongly to me is that it's important for people to know which body type they are, because based on the body type you are, whether you're that very thin Vata, whether you're that moderate build pitta, or whether you're that very, I won't say very large, but more sturdy, strong kapha type of person, is going to affect the type of anxiety that you experience, and also the type of things that you need to do in order to resolve that. Now, I will show you a link in a few minutes where you can go to find out about what body type that you have. And also, there's a huge amount of information about Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and we have a free 7-lesson course that you can enroll for, and we send you out the videos, and you can, sorry, there's just some noise coming through there. Let me just mute everybody again. Going to mute everybody. Okay, and then I'm going to show you where you can do that 7-lesson course, where you can find out an awful lot more about Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Like it's very much to do with your lifestyle and the way that you live your life. You have to accept the situation that you're in, but you can make changes that will then hopefully have help to redress the situation. A couple of the things that I would see as being very important for people. Firstly, trying to get a good night's sleep. So, setting it up so that you can go to bed by around 10 o'clock in the evening time. And for me, that's normal because I've been doing that for decades now, But I know for some people that'll seem like, oh my God, 10 o'clock at night, what are you talking about? People going to bed at 1 o'clock, but certain things happen when you sleep. There are routines that are inherent in our nature, circadian rhythms, and things go on. And one of the things that happens when we go to bed early, before 10 o'clock, is that the system can begin to resolve emotional issues and the things that have taken place during the day. There's a great cleaning process goes on at that hour of the night. But obviously, if you're not in bed at that hour of the night and you're up watching TV or you're out in the pub, then you're missing that ability to do that at the time. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night of the week, but certainly during the week if we can, especially if we're working. So try get that sleep. Sleep is incredibly curative. Incredibly curative. If you find you're someone that can't let go of things, if someone does something or says something to you and you keep holding on to it and it keeps going around in your mind and you just can't get hold of it, you're probably not getting proper sleep, because sleep resolves those issues. And we can then forget about those things because they're only minor things anyway, but we just blow them out of proportion. So getting a good night's sleep is incredibly important. I think the Ayurvedic massage that Dr. Rajvinder talked about, especially for Vata people, using warm sesame oil. And Dr. Rajvinder mentioned you use long strokes on the muscles and you use round strokes on the joints. And you just basically cover yourself in this sesame oil and you leave it on for 5 or 10 minutes. And then you have a shower or a bath to wash it off. It's very, very grounding. It's very settling, that oil. Oil is heavy. Vata is air and space. Oil is the opposite. It's nice and heavy and it can ground you. And then I would definitely advise that people learn some yoga and a meditation technique as well. Now, myself and Dr. Rajvinder are going to do another class where we're going to show people some yoga postures they can do. We're going to go a bit more into those breathing exercises. You can always Google them anyway. The names will be in the notes that we send out. We're going to go a bit more into the breathing exercises that we talked about, and we'll also do a guided relaxation where we just talk people and hopefully they get into a more relaxed state. And then we'll make that tape available to people so that you can use it whenever you feel you can or whenever you want to. But you can always go and find a good yoga class near you, and most yoga teachers will be able to teach you pranayama as well. And then in relation to food, well, there's so much information around food, but just to put it in a nutshell from my perspective, I would say avoid processed foods, avoid heavily processed foods, just eat natural foods, cook for yourself if you can, but even if you can't, find somewhere that cooks nice fresh food. Dr. Brennan mentioned McNally's Family Farm in North County Dublin, but there are organic farms coming up all over the place. So, but avoid highly processed foods. They're not good for your brain. They don't have the right nutrients for you to develop correctly. They tend to be full of sugars and trans fats, which are not good for you. Don't get hyper anxious about saturated fats. They are by no means the worst thing in the world to eat. Okay, you can only eat so many of them anyway. I would say processed foods and trans fats are much worse for you than saturated fats. And so take a look at your diet, take a look at your lifestyle. Do spend some time, give yourself a break every day, where you go for a nice walk. If you're working in a busy office, but you're going to get a lunch break, you're entitled to a lunch break, go find a local park where you can take a walk. Just be with yourself, be with nature, admire the beauty around you, go for a walk by a river. You know, Dr. Rajvinder mentioned about the moon being very good for Pitta. We had some fabulous moons earlier on in this month. We had some really beautiful big moons. And the weather was very clear at that time, so you know it was very easy to go out for a nice walk in the moonlight. It can be very, very settling, especially for Pitta people. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen for a minute. Whoa. Let's see where I'm going to share it to. Oh, I've got a lot of spreadsheets open, which I shouldn't have open, but let's share it to here. Okay. Okay, so this is our website. Okay, you can all see that, Dr. Brennan. You can see that. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So our website is just ayurveda.ie. You can see the spelling of it up there, ayurveda.ie. And the very first thing we have on our website is this free 7-lesson online course. So you just need to click on that, okay? And that brings you into a screen where it gives you some details on the course, and you can register for it. Now, this is a course that we developed during COVID. At the beginning of COVID, well, not quite at the beginning, but when we got locked down and we realized we were going to be stuck indoors for a while, we decided to put a course together about Ayurveda, and we had an unbelievable response to it. And we just kept repeating the course and repeating the course. We thought we might get 50 or 60 people doing it. We've actually had more than 25,000 people register for this course. And this course is about the fundamentals. It's an introduction to Ayurveda for someone who knows nothing about Ayurveda. And there are 7 lessons in it. An introduction to Ayurveda, a lesson on Vata, a lesson on Pitta, a lesson on Kapha. So all of those things that Dr. Rajvinder touched on are explained in depth in these lessons. And then the rhythms of nature, how one season differs from another. And the seasons aren't just happening out there, they're actually happening inside of you. And you need to alter your routine and your diet to deal with the season that you happen to be in. We have a whole class on digestion, because digestion, your strength of your digestion is seen as being really, really important to help us deal with the things that are there. In actual fact, most diseases are seen as a result of improper digestion and the collection of toxins in the system. And then the 6 stages of disease, how diseases develop over space and time. And we have some lovely testimonials. There's a very nice one there from John Duffy. He's an MD, he's a cardiologist. He's retired now, but he was quite a famous cardiologist down in Galway. So you just need to put in your first name, your last name, and your email address, and then you will get 2 lessons a week. And you can just go through those lessons in your own time. Now, I'm going to go back to the home page. So you can see the doctors, all the doctors' details are there if there's any particular doctor that you want to get in touch with there on the homepage as well. And we have also got a YouTube channel. Let me just, okay, we also have a YouTube channel, which is here, okay? And we have lots and lots of free content on this YouTube channel. So if you go to playlists, you can see that we have a whole section of free webinars that are there on all different topics, on arthritis. I'll just stop that. On arthritis, on tinnitus, on menopause, on endometriosis. We do lots and lots of different webinars. So you can see all those webinars on our website, and they're all available for people to view. They're all available for people to view freely, But I would strongly encourage all the new people to do that Ayurveda course, the free 7-lesson course. It is free, and it'll give you a very, very in-depth understanding of the Ayurvedic approach, because basically we just have an hour this evening to talk about it, and it may have been overwhelming to new people, but you can, as I say, you can get a much greater in-depth understanding of it there on our website. We also have a UK website, because we have a lot of people in the UK, and that's ayuland.co.uk. It's exactly the same website, except, because we have so many people in the UK that deal with us, all the pricing of products and all that is done in sterling as opposed to euros, But it's the same website. You can click on the same link and you can join the courses in the same way. So they're the two things. And if you do go to our YouTube channel, then just subscribe to it, and you'll be kept up to date with any new webinars that we have. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the questions. We don't have too much time left. I like to finish these things off around 9 o'clock, but we will go through some of them. I had anxiety since my daughter was born. Why? Well, that's from iPad. I'm not too sure who iPad is, but bringing a child into the world, I think might be quite an anxious thing, really. But Dr. Brennan is looking to answer that one. So, Don, you can unmute yourself.
Thanks, Noel. Yeah, it's a lovely question, and it just brings out again the wisdom and the depth of insight in Ayurveda, because we're talking about anxiety. Primarily, it was an excitation, a movement, a vata issue. You know, it finds expression, as Rajvinder was saying, in different modes or colors for the different natures. And just to say to everybody that's new to all of this, don't be overwhelmed. It's very simple, this. It's just a matter of balance. There's so many factors that are throwing you out of balance in life. Ayurveda gives you insight according to your nature as to what it is that's triggering you. So you can make a choice to reduce some of these while increasing some of the things that bring you balance. It may not take a lot of time. It often doesn't take a lot of effort. Simple things. And when the balance is coming back, wow, suddenly you're back to yourself. So don't be overwhelmed by an amount of new information, so many possible strategies, especially, you know, as you do, as Noel suggests, get more information from the website or get some assistance from Dr. Rajvinder, one of the Vaidya's, or myself. It is simplified, and you take baby steps until you have your balance. And then as life goes by, you can get more deep in your understanding for better fulfillment in life. So don't be overwhelmed. In relation to childbirth, there can't be a bigger movement. Could there possibly be a bigger movement than the movement of pushing out and delivering a baby? And there should be at least 6 weeks thereafter where a mother and child are left together in calm stillness to just bond, to just be together. And there shouldn't be the demands and stresses and housework and, you know, everything else and lack of sleep and all, which leaves the poor mother with a vata imbalance, which can persist over a lifetime until she gets to Ayurveda and gets to understand how to restore that balance to vata. One other thing, just as an example of Rajvinder's indication of the seasons, and not only do we benefit greatly by knowing what routine and the day suits us best, but also the seasonal routine. We're into the Vata season now, and look what's coming up. Halloween. We all get scared. And so this time of life is the time when Vata comes up. The whole of nature goes asleep. The leaves, no leaves in the trees, the hedgehogs hibernate. Nature rests, and we go manic. We're back to school and shopping for Christmas, and now we have to shop for Halloween as well. And so, you know, it's just a time of the year when we should be even more aware to balance our Vata. Just a simple example of how wonderful this insight and knowledge from Ayurveda can be.
Yeah, this is a time of year for taking a little bit more rest, you know. And, you know, regardless of what's caused your anxiety to happen, you know, getting a grip on your diet and lifestyle for anybody is going to have benefits, whether it's because of, you know, maybe hormonal changes in having a child or the stress of having a child, whatever it is, we need to look after ourselves, you know, we need to go back to looking after ourselves. And particularly if it's a Vata thing, that means more rest, nourishing foods, a nourishing lifestyle, avoiding as much stress as possible. We really have created a world around us that's not conducive. You know, we have all this wealth and stuff like that, but it's all at the time, it's not conducive to creating great health, you know. Now, Sangeeta, so we'll send a copy of this out and you can go back over it. You can have a chat with people. You can, all the doctor's details are on the website there, on the homepage of the website that I showed you. Zaki asked, what are your thoughts on ashwagandha? Well, Dr. Rajvinder covered that. Thank you, Dr. Brennan, for a beautiful talk. Or Mahagut from Antoinette. Is your treatment spa open from Pamela? It's not, Pamela. We kind of closed it down during COVID. It is one of the things that we had a centre in Monkstown in County Dublin. We couldn't use it for 2 years, and we eventually had to make the decision that we had to close it down because we were paying rent on it, and all of the doctors now basically work from home. So we don't have a spa, but it is one of the things we are definitely looking at. There are other spas around, the Samadhi Centre in Rathgar, I think it is, and then there's a big treatment centre over in County Clare, and there may be some other ones around as well. There are more and more Ayurvedans coming into Ireland at the moment. How to find a good TM teacher, tm-ireland.org.
Rajvinder is looking to say something.
Oh, sorry, Rajvinder. Sorry. Hi, Raj.
Hiya.
Go ahead.
Hiya, if you are interested, send an email and we can share a number for the girl. We trained 4 girls early this year, and one of them is in town and she's doing Ayurveda treatments, and she also did Slovenia Ayurveda course and our courses. So if you want some treatments, we can give you.
I forgot. Sorry, Rajvinder. Thank you for reminding me. That's Sandra Lawless, and she works from Oscailt in. Oh, I'm not exactly sure where it is, but it's in Dublin somewhere anyway. It's a holistic centre, and she has been trained by Dr. Rajvinder to do Abhyanga and Shirodharas. And Shirodhara is a treatment where they pour oil on your forehead. It's very, very beneficial for Vata conditions and for the mind and for settling the mind. It's a beautiful treatment. I'm not sure she's doing that treatment there, but she is doing some treatments,
Yeah, she's able to do that, yeah.
Okay, so going a bit fast, it's giving me anxiety. Don mentioned that already.
It's a lot to cover.
That is amazing. I don't want to miss it. Would recording be available so we can't? Yes, I will make a recording. Anyone that signed up for this will get a recording tomorrow, or anyone that's not tomorrow. I'll try tomorrow, but or anyone who's on our newsletter. And you can subscribe to our newsletter from the Ayurveda website that I think Noel usually sends out. I do. Okay. Yes, recordings. Yes, aroma oils and sesame oil mentioned by Dr. Rajvinder available. Rajvinder, please slow down. Any events coming up? I missed the detox. Yes, we do have an event coming up. Besides from the free course, we also have a 12-lesson self-care course, and that's going to be, we have recorded the 12 lessons already, and then we have a practical day on the 26th of October in the Airport Maldron Hotel. So anybody that's on our newsletter will have received videos about that, and also have received, the links to book that. If you're not on our newsletter and you want to find out about that upcoming course, then send me an email to noel@ayurveda.ie. So you must have got that if you're on this call. You must have got the link from somewhere. So just reply to that email and I'll send you details of.
There's a choice just to join the practical day, even if you don't want to do that.
Yeah, you can do the practical day, and that just goes through the daily routine, cleaning the tongue, doing the oil pulling, some exercises for balance, some yoga postures, some tips on how to prevent dementia as we grow older, how to maintain healthy joints and all that. That it's only €35 for that day. It's from 10:30 to 4:30 on the 26th of October. And you can do that on its own. It's also part of a 12-lesson course, which is 24 hours of videotape and Q&A sessions with Dr. Rajvinder. But anyway, anyone that's on the mailing list will have received all of that information. If you haven't received it and you'd like to receive it, send me an email to noel@ayurveda.ie. Okay. Is there anywhere I can find info on Western aromatherapy oil and herbs and their Ayurvedic effect? You can find that.
There is a Maharishi Ayurveda booklet, actually. I will find out. The Maharishi Ayurveda aromatherapy course is available, but they have very nice little booklet as well. Maybe Dr. Dawn know about it, or Roberta is here. She has done the course. Roberta, can you share the name of the booklet? It's a very good booklet, and it.
I'm not sure you'll be able to buy that booklet, though. That's the only thing. But Gillian, if you send an email to Rajvinder@ayurveda.ie, I'm sure you have Rajvinder's email address, and we can get you some more information on that. But I'm sure they mightn't deal in terms of Ayurveda, but they'll say this is a relaxing oil or this is a stimulating oil. So if it's a relaxing oil, it's obviously for Vata. If it's stimulating, it's good for Kapha. If it's calming or cooling, it's good for Pitta,
So Roberta shared it. It's at the end of the chat now, the power of essential oil from Veda Roma. So they give you a booklet. So they all tell you if it's a kind of a concentrated form or it was done by a different method, because some of the oils are very expensive. Like rose could be available in 3 different prices, and it depends the way it was extracted and all that. So because I've seen that in Rendlesham, so it's a good book.
Okay. So Don answered that question.
Yes.
Actually, he said, look for a book by the herbalist Anne McIntyre.
Yeah, he's
So
showing
you can
that.
do that.
Yeah, maybe
Don,
yeah, maybe you can share.
Don, if you speak, he'll come up on the screen.
This is a different book. This is the one that was just requested that Rajvinder was talking about.
Okay. The Power of Essential Oils.
The Power of
Okay.
Essential Oils. How to use
Is-
essential oils.
Is there an author?
By
No.
Ayurveda Aroma. They are the supplier.
link.
Sorry?
By Roswitha, Roswitha, Gelvink, GW.
Okay, you better type that into the chat
A.
box there, Don. Just type that in and anybody that wants can look that book up. I'm not sure it'll be easily available, but Dr. Brennan will type that in. So that's that question well and truly answered. Gillian, can you use normal rose petals from the garden to make herb tea, please? Not so
Sometimes
sure.
they give you a little bit indigestion or heat, I don't know, but dry ones are better. So maybe you dry them.
And they
Okay.
do make rose water by boiling and precipitating. And you can buy rose water in some health food shops, which you could use in condiments or foods. It's lovely.
Okay,
lovely.
so a lot of new messages coming in. So great talk. Some people saying amazing information I don't want to miss. Would the recording be available? Yes, we will send the recording, and we'll also send Dr. Rajvinder's notes. So Dr. Rajvinder, if you email me the Word document you used, I'll include it in our newsletter with this, you know. So that person has to go. Okay, same question.
I'm going to share the link for that book. Okay, whoever is looking in the chat, find it. Okay, you go on.
Okay, okay, let's see. Maybe we've got to the end of them. I'm not too sure. So,
No, that sometimes.
okay, thank you for this wonderful webinar. Is the Prakritri or Vikratri more influential in the type of anxiety you may suffer?
I answered
So,
that.
oh, you answered it. Okay, okay, okay.
I think we mostly
I
answered.
just heard from a meditator, I thought that her life has changed incredibly by going to bed regularly at 10 p.m. That's from Julianne Christo. So yes, you know, sleep it's simple things. It's simple. It's easy to be healthy. You have to work at being sick in general, you know. So it's easy things, and it's just common sense things. We need to sleep. We need proper sleep at nighttime. We need proper nutrition. We don't need foods that aren't even foods, that were never designed to be ingested by human beings. We need natural foods. And, you know, the great Deepak Chopra once said, don't buy anything with a label on it. And what he meant by that was, you know, you get your food from an organic farm, you get your spices. They're just one thing in them. They're not made up. Now, obviously, you don't have to take that to the extreme. But, you know, you have rice, you have dal, you've different things, you have vegetables, you have carrots, you have onions, you have all of these things, all the root vegetables that are coming to the fore now, you know, and you take them and you cook them, and your body is able to draw the nutrients out of them and take what it needs out of them in order for you to be healthy. Because don't forget, when what you're eating becomes you're creating your new cells are being created all the time, and they're being created from what you ingest. So we need to ingest good things, and we need to take in good water and good air and, you know, good food, you know. Okay, okay, let's see. Okay, what is the therapeutic difference between almond oil, sesame oil, and coconut oil? We might not go into that now, Gillian, but
Answered
sesame.
already.
You answered it already.
Dr. Don.
Okay,
Dr.
great,
Don.
Raju. Okay, okay, so we'll do, Roberta, we will do a yoga class. I don't know the time for that, but we will do a yoga class. We'll do some pranayama, and we'll do a guided relaxation, which should be beneficial for everybody. And what I'll do is, anybody on this call obviously got the Zoom link. You obviously either registered for the talk or you're a regular attendee on our newsletters. So I'll send out the link to that yoga class, and it'll happen in the next week or so. And you can come on that. The yoga is good for everybody anyway, but we'll concentrate on some of the postures that Dr. Rajvinder spoke about there for helping with anxiety, and also the pranayama. And then we'll do a guided relaxation, and we'll make a copy of it available. So you can please type out the name of the farm in North Dublin. It's just McNally's, McNallys, McNally's Family Farm. You can Google it. They were on RTE recently. Nationwide did a big program on them. It's a fantastic facility out there. They have a nice coffee shop out there as well, and they grow all their own vegetables, no pesticides, no chemicals, and they always have lots and lots of things in use. Thank you, Dr. Brennan. That really informative. Okay, you've answered that. Perfect. Another great webinar. I'm deeply grateful for all your work putting webinars together and sharing. Yes, that's great that the doctors take their time. Tamara, how are you? Tamara, fantastic presentation. Okay, so good to be together again. Okay, I think we've got today. We're gone past 9. Okay, so listen, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sorry if you have a question in that we didn't get to answer, but we've covered as much as we can.
We got all of them.
Yeah, we got all of them. Okay. So listen, I really hope that everybody gets something out of this talk. It might even just be one little thing that you do. I think the main thing is to have some hope if you are suffering from anxiety. I know it can be incredibly debilitating. And when you're in that moment, when you're there and you're virtually in a state of panic, you know, it can be very difficult to see any light at the end of the tunnel. But things can change, and just making small adjustments in your life, hopefully, will bring some changes for you. So do try to come on the yoga and the pranayama class and the relaxation class if you can. And as I say, I hope you take something from it. I will send the recording out to everybody, and the notes that are there as well. And then if you like the Ayurvedic approach, definitely go and do the 7-lesson course. I think you can get some great value from that 7-lesson course. And we try to do lots of events. We do webinars on, you know, a different approach to lots of different things. Most of them are complementary. You can do your allopathic, you can take your medications and see your GP, and you can also be doing this approach. And hopefully between the two of them, as I say, the Ayurvedic approach is more trying to get to the root cause of why it's happening, as opposed to just suppressing symptoms. But sometimes we just need to suppress symptoms because they're so severe, you know. But ideally, over long term, we get to a state where we can live free from medication and we can be healthy and happy and balanced. And that's really the purpose of what Ayurveda is. So I want to say a big thank you to the 2 doctors who came on this evening. We have 4 doctors working our centre. Dr. Naheed at the moment is back in India. She just had a baby. Well, not that recently, probably about a year ago now, you know. And Dr. Chaitrali, who did one of our last webinars, who also lives over near Dundrum. But a big thank you to Dr. Brennan, who's coming on and sharing his experience and great knowledge with us. And a huge thank you to Dr. Rajvinder for putting that presentation together as well. So, and a big thank you to everybody who came on tonight, especially the people who knew nothing about Ayurveda and just came on to see what it was all about. We hope maybe we can get you to explore this wonderful, wonderful knowledge a little bit more and see some of the wisdom in it. So I want to say namaskar, a big thank you to everybody for coming on. Big thank you to the doctors, and hopefully we'll see everybody on a webinar shortly. And look out in your mailbox. Hopefully we don't go into your spam folder. Look out for the yoga class that we will run in the near future. Okay, everybody, good night. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.